Are you guys ready? Step 1. Here's a second weapon that Mr. Munguia has given you to solve systems. Step 1 is going to write this. Going to write steps to solving and going to write step 1. Now, my recommendation, Ortiz, and those of you who are not writing yet, write these steps down very, very carefully, very, very neatly, because you'll be referring to these steps very, very repeatedly and often this next week here. It's up to you. So we're going to write steps to solving systems by substitution. Number 1, solve for one of the variables in the system. Get the variable of your choice by itself. Write that down. Step 2, substitute this value into the other equation of the system. We've become like a family in this class, you notice? Everyone knows each other's habits and idiosyncrasies, and it's funny. You know, I'll just stop now. What's funny, though, is by the end of the school year, everyone's going to be calling each other by last name. It's funny. Step 3, solve for the variable in equation 2 from step... solve for the variable in the equation from step 2. And then last but not least, one more step now. Again, write legibly and neatly, Gonzalez, because you're going to have to be referring to these often. Stop it. I got a great idea. Okay, that example that I gave to open up my lecture right now, where I said don't write anything, just pay attention, what was the solution to this system? What was the solution there? 1, 1. That was the solution. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to solve this same system. I'm going to solve this same system, not by graphing, but by substitution, by the 4 steps you just wrote down, and I'm going to show you I got the same solution. It's going to blow you away. Watch this. Here we go. So, example 1. Go write this down. Solve by substitution. It's going to be okay. Let me write, it says solve by substitution. Write that down. Example 1. We're going to do 2 examples today and we're done. She'll text me, though. Is he a good student or a bad student? So be careful. Be a good boy. All right, watch this. Okay, here we go. Rocha, I got the floor now. Please, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and write down the system. Y equals negative x plus 2, and y minus 3x equals negative 2. Write it down with me. So let's solve this system. Here we go. Y equals 2x. Is it minus 2? Let's see. Actually, negative x plus 2. My bad. Negative x plus 2 is the first equation. And the second one was y minus 3x equals, what was it?
1, I think 2.
Negative 2. Thank you. I got it. Okay, there's your system. All right. Why is this a system? What is this? What is about this that makes this a system? It's 2 equations. Once you have 2 equations, you're in the system. Step 1, Rodriguez, read step 1 for me. Keep going. By itself, it says, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, by itself. So, I'm looking at the system. I want to get a variable by itself, either x or a y in either equation. Here's equation 1, here's equation 2. Step 1 says get a variable of your choice by itself. And I'm looking at this system. Y is already by itself. Look at y is alone right here. It's already solved for. Y is negative x plus 2. So step 1, on your notes, put step 1, put already done. Already done. The reason why it's already done is because I already have a variable by itself. Already done. Remember, if you got the phone out when I have the floor, I have the right to take the stamp away. Already done. Gonzalez, can you read me step 2? Step 2 now. All right, watch this now. We're good. So substitute this value. What value are they referring to in step 2? Look at this value. No, this value. Look at y is negative x plus 2. You said substitute this value into the other equation for y. So wherever I see y, I'm going to substitute it with negative x plus 2 because that's what y is. Think of what substitute means. It means to replace. A substitute teacher, you take the teacher out and you replace him with a substitute. You replace the teacher. Now, this is called substitution. Watch me substitute now. Here we go. Go to right. Step 2. When I put 2 on my notes, I'm referring to step 2 of the 4 steps. So look what I'm going to do now. I'm going to write the other equation, y equals, or y minus 3x equals negative 2. But look what I'm going to do now. I'm going to rewrite it, but wherever I see y, I'm going to replace what y is. What is y? Well, look at the first equation. Y is already by itself. This means y is negative x plus 2. So watch me replace y. Look at. I'm going to replace y with negative x plus 2, and I'm putting in parentheses because y is the whole thing. I'm substituting y with negative x plus 2. And let me rewrite the rest of the equation. Watch this. Minus 3x equals negative 2. Okay, I'll stop then. Right, so look at step 1. Step 1 is get a variable by itself. But in the system, one of the variables is already by itself. There's y. Look at y is by itself equals this. Step 2, it says replace this value into the other equation for y. Because y, look at, if y is this, then I can replace y with what it is. Look at, the equal sign really means is. The word is. Y is that, so if I see y, I can replace it with what y is. So look what I did. I took y, here's your y, and I replaced it with what it is. Y is that. I know. Right, so I substituted the first value into the second equation. It's kind of blending. I hear what you're saying, but it's not 2 equations in one. It's taking this first equation, that variable, if this variable equals this, then this variable can be replaced by that, logically. If something equals something else, then you can replace that something with that something else, anytime, any place. So if y equals this, then this y can be replaced with that. That's all I'm doing on step 2. Again, right now you guys got to focus because I'm actually lifting it up a notch. I'm shifting up a notch. This is where you're going to get lost, and I need you to pass this class to move on to bigger and better things. So Medina, you with me? You got the phone on. Oh, it's breaking my heart. Gonzalez, thank you. Go ahead. Here we go. So we got this parenthesis. What does step 3 say, Valdez? So let's solve for x now. Look at, I have an x here and x here. Let's get x by itself. Remember we did all this in quarter 1. We had multi-step equations in quarter 1. Remember when this class was packed? And we're getting x by itself with all the steps? That's all coming back to haunt us now, just in time for Halloween. Watch this now. Watch this. So step 3, go ahead on your notes, go ahead and write step 3, because step 3 involves solving for x. Watch this. It's okay, we're going to go slowly. Don't worry. It's all about practice. Don't run away from the struggle. Rocha, read step 3 again that Valdez read. One more time. Read it for me.
Step 3?
Yeah.
Solve for the variable in the equation for step 2.
Here, look at. Right, so here's the equation from step 2. I replaced y with what y was. And now I'm going to solve for x here. So from quarter 1, please don't break my heart. When you guys saw a parenthesis and there's a number outside the parentheses, what are we doing? Right, remember, what is outside the parentheses right here? There's invisible what? Nice. So look at, what was that called when we spread something in there? Starts with a D. We're going to distribute. Remember, that was quarter 1. You remember how packed this class used to be? Do you guys remember how packed this class used to be? Yeah. We will distribute. Now watch this. 1 times negative 1x. What's 1 times negative 1? Valdez, Ortiz, help me out.
1 times negative 1, that's positive 1.
If they're both negative, right, it's going to be a negative 1. Watch this. A negative 1x. Look at this time this became a negative 1x. What's a 1 times a 2? 2. Thank you. Look, I still have a minus 3x right here, equals negative 2. So let's think back to quarter 1, way back in August and September days when we were doing this. Now what's the next step? What do I do?
And then you add the next.
Hold on, he was still asking a question. Go ahead. Right, we distributed the 1 times everything in the parentheses. So 1 times that became this, 1 times 2 became that. So the parentheses are gone. Medina has a question. Hit it.
You add the x. It was even the question. I was going off now.
Okay. Rocha, hit it.
Add the x.
Right, let's get the x's together. In other words, let's combine like terms.
Wait, so in number 3, there's always a 1 on the outside? Always?
Right, unless otherwise stated. There may be something else there, but if there's nothing there, it's automatically a 1, to answer your question. Okay? Good question.
Then the number on the outside always goes...
You multiply it by the stuff inside. And there it is. Here it is. Now, let's combine like terms now. Negative 1x minus 3x. Watch this. Negative 1 minus 3 is going to be a negative 4. X. Look at it. I cross them out to them. I combine them. Negative 1 minus 3x is negative 4x. Okay? Then I still got the plus 2 equals a negative 2. Give me a second. Let me put that on hold. That's beautiful. Hold up. Remember the goal to step 3. Rocha read it and Valdez read it. The goal is to get the variable by itself to solve for the variable. We're almost there. We got the variables together, combine like terms. Let's get x by itself now. Rocha, what'd you say again? Right. Let's get rid of this 2. I want to subtract 2 from the left, subtract 2 from the right. Look what I get, you guys. Bye. Let's see. Negative 4x exactly equals negative 2 minus 2 is the. Oh wait, I'm talking. Let's take turns. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 2 plus negative 2. Because minus and plus negative mean the same thing. Remember we went over that last week. A minus 2 and a plus negative 2 is the same thing. So negative 2 plus more negative 2 is still negative 4. It'd be 4 plus 4, 8. Or 2 plus 2 would be 4. I'm thinking 4 and 4. So you're saying they're both positive? 2 minus 2? Like that? Or 2 plus 2? Well, the 2 plus 2 is just 4. Hold on, one at a time, please. One more time.
Even if it's like a negative,
well, look at it. Let's see that scenario. His question, what if it's like this? Is this your question? 2 plus a negative 2?
yeah.
That's the same as 2 minus 2. That would be 0. But here, I have, look at what I had here. Look what I had here, Rios. I got you. Give me a second. I had a negative 2 minus a 2.
So that's positive 4.
I do this. So it's really it's negative plus more negative. So excuse me, let me talk. So negative plus more negative stays negative. If it's negative times negative, then it's positive.
Oh, okay. So if you multiply,
That's when it's positive. That's different. That's a different rule. If it's adding, think of it like losing money. You lost $2, lost 2 more bucks, you lost a total of $4, negative 4 in the hole, so to speak. You owe $4. Last step. X not by itself yet. I'm talking, Medina, thank you. We're going to divide both sides by -4. Look at this. So -4 divided by -4 is 1x. Look at 1x equals +1. That looks familiar. Remember the equations that I solved for graphing? Look at x. Look at x. Remember when I did that when you guys were watching me? X is 1. There it is. We found out that x is 1. So far, so good. So all this, look at all this was step 3. We solved for x. Put the arrows there. Yeah. Not yet. Not yet. We're going to do this first. So step 1, step 2, substitute. Step 3, look at step 3 is all the solving for x. And now finally, last but not least, step 4, Ortiz, read step 4 for me. So substitute the value here. Look at 1. This is why it's called substitution. X is 1, so I can substitute that 1 back into the original equation from step 1. Look at step 1's equation was this right here. Y equals, look at, y equals -x plus 2. So what I can do is I can replace x with 1. Watch. Step 4. All I'm doing is step 4. Read it one more time, nice and loud. Ortiz. Look. Go ahead. Watch. So substitute this value from step 3 into the value from step 1. Look at step 1, the already done part. That was the first equation that was already solved for y. Right, Gonzalez? I'm talking? Thank you, sir. So wherever I see x, I'm replacing with 1. So go on your notes, put step 4. Go and write the equation from step 1. Y equals -x plus 2. This is the original equation from the system. What's in front of this x right here? A -1, huh? So watch me substitute x with 1. Look at y is. So I'm substituting twice. The first time I substituted was on step 2. When I replaced the y with what y was -x plus 2. Now I'm going to substitute 1 for x. Since I know what x is already, x is 1, I'm going to plug it into here to figure out what y is. Watch. This really means -1 times x. -1 times, look, instead of x, I'm writing 1. -1 times x. There's -1 times x. Plus 2. Don't let this first example scare you. I'm going to go over some more examples, and you can ask me more questions. Relax. Breathe. There we go. What does Aunt Sally tell us to do first? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Does she tell us to multiply or add first? M comes before add. Multiply comes first. So -1 times 1 is -1 plus a 2. -1 plus 2. So what was x? What was x? X was 1. So look at our solution. X was 1. And now look at y. The y coordinate is also 1. We found the solution. Nope. Right, but the more practice, you get used to it. No graphing. Look at, so remember when I graphed it, it was 1, 1. But now I'm using substitution. You still get 1, 1 using some crazy algebraic skills. 1, 1. That's crazy.
You can explain that part again?
Sure. What step? Let's go specific. Oh, PEMDAS? Sure. If I replace x and y into either one of the two equations of the system, it'll satisfy either one. Right. No, what I'm doing actually is figuring out what y is by replacing x with what x is. X is 1, so I'm substituting x with 1. So y is 1. Yeah, kind of what you're saying. Not yet. So look at PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses comes first, right? So right here, the parentheses only mean, this parenthesis only has a number in it, so it really only means multiplication. So that's, look at, we're dealing with the M here. So we're done with parentheses because there is no parentheses, strictly speaking. There's nothing to do inside them because there's only one number, so it really means multiplication. What comes after the P? Exponents. There's no exponents. Multiplication comes before adding. Look at it. Adding's after multiplication. So I multiplied first before I added.
So you multiply -1 plus 1.
Negative 1 times 1, right? Became that. I did this before I did that because that's the order of operations. I got to follow that. There's always an order to do things.
Can you explain part 2?
Go ahead. Get out of here. What happened?
2.
2? You mean part 2? Let's do it. Sure. Okay, I'm talking. Excuse me. I'm talking. Let me have the floor. Don't make a deal out of this. Go ahead. Go to the restroom and come back. You'll go. Bye. I'm not being mean. I got something to teach, and you keep getting in front of me. Let's go. So step 2.
Yeah, how do you get that?
Nice. Good question. Notice how y equals this garbage. See this? Y, the original system. See how y is equal to all that? So what I did is wherever I saw y in the other equation of the system, I replaced it with that. In other words, replace means to substitute. So I took this variable y and I replaced it with negative x plus 2. Look at, here's y minus 3x equals negative 2. I just rewrote this equation, but substituted it. That's why the whole lesson is called solving by substitution. More questions. Give me some more questions. It's time to ask questions. I'm going to go very slow here. I know this is crazy, but you have to do it just like I did when I was your age. So I don't want to hear any crying. I'm not going to hear it. Take it somewhere else. If you want to fail my class, nice. I'll take you. You'll see me after next quarter, after the new year. It's up to you. But I'm not going to dumb down the math. Here's equation 2, or example 2. Let's do it. Ready? Example 2, let's solve by substitution. Solve by substitution. Here we go. Here's the first equation of the system. Y equals x minus 1. And the second equation, Rios, stay here. 2x minus y equals 0. No stamp. That's cool. You're lying. Show me. Show me. I ain't kidding. No stamp. Step 1. Rios, read step 1 for me. Nice and clear.
Solve for one of the variables in the system with the variable of the choice by itself.
Beautiful. You have choices, Rodriguez. In this system, is there a variable already by itself? The y, look at. Rocha, you with me?
Yeah.
In the first equation, y is already by itself, so step 1 is already done. So the first few examples I'm giving you, step 1's done for you already. But I'm going to start getting some examples where step 1 is not done. But y is already by itself, so for step 1, put already done. Already done. And I'll write the equation. Y equals x minus 1. Do that with me. We got one of the variables by itself. They gave it to us that way. It's like a gift. Merry Christmas.
So we just have to get one of them by itself?
One of them by itself, and the cool thing is, it's already by itself. Gonzalez likes that. We'll have to write to get it by itself. And that's what we're going to, next, tomorrow's examples, I'm going to get into that.
There's no school tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
No, just show up. I'll leave the door open for you.
Stupid. Why didn't you make it Wednesday?
No.
Okay, ready? Rocha, thank you. Rocha. Thank you, Rocha. Thank you, Rocha. Thank you. That was awesome. Step 2. Rodriguez, read me step 2. Beautiful. Look at. Here's a key step. This is where most of the students die. Watch. Watch this. Dodger blue. Look at. Why is this value? So looking at this equation, wherever I see x, look at the second equation, wherever I see y, I'm going to replace y with what y is. Watch this. So look at, let me rewrite the second equation, 2x minus y equals 0. Do that with me, step 2. Here's the substitution part now. This is the bread and butter. This is the meat and potatoes here. Wherever I see y, I'm replacing it with x minus 1. So 2x minus, look at this, where instead of y, I'm writing x minus 1 equals 0. Look at that. Wherever I saw y, I replace it with x minus 1. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, step 3. Watch this, Rodriguez. Step 3, we're going to get x by itself now. That's what it says on yours. I'm going to get x by itself now. I'm going to distribute now a negative 1. Look at, there's a negative 1 here. Here and here.
But why are you putting the negative 1?
Because it's minus a y. It's minus y.
Okay.
And y is, look at, there's y. Y is that, and y is that, and we're rocking and rolling now. Here we go. It's because right here there's a negative y, huh? There's really a negative 1 times y right here. Right, look at right here. Watch. Look at the original equation. Look at, there's a negative 1 right there in front of the y. That's where that negative 1 comes from. Moving right along. So we're distributing now. Negative 1 times x, help. What's negative 1 times x?
Negative 1 times x is negative 1.
Negative 1x. Negative 1 times negative 1.
Positive.
Awesome. Look at this. Like terms time. So all this now, getting x by itself, all these steps is step 3. I'll stop. Questions. Right now is the time to ask questions. Because negative times a negative is plus, adding. Negative times negative is positive. Right. Right. Good. Good. Well, what would you rather put? I mean, so it has to be some, right? Medina? I forgot the question. I'm sorry, Medina. I think you're exaggerating and being sarcastic. Stop it. Let's recover. Ready? Let's make up for the lost time. What do I do now, Medina? Let's do it. 2x minus 1x is 1x. Beautiful. Plus 1 equals 0. Are you kidding me? Is it really this easy, Mungia? Yes, it is. What from both sides? You know what I'm talking about, Rocha. X is negative 1. This is all step 3, and Rodriguez had his phone out, and he's hurting my feelings. X equals negative 1. Valdez, save the day and read step 4. There it is. Look at it. Stop right there. Here's the value found in step 3. Into what, Valdez? Into what? So the equation from step 1 is up here. Look at it right there. Y equals x minus 1. Let me write it. Y equals x minus 1. I'm going to replace this now into wherever I see x. Watch this. Negative 1 minus 1. We're rocking and rolling. Y equals negative 2. So what's our solution, Medina? Close. Close. One more time. Close.
Oh, 1 and negative 2.
The negative 1.
Oh, negative 1 and negative 2.
There we go. Woo, we're rocking and rolling. Who likes rock and roll?